Hi everyone, this is Koinzell here and I have for you guys the final Ayato math guide. Not the final Ayato video, but the final Ayato math guide. And this time around we are going to compare 4 Gladiators versus 4 HOD, Heart of Death, as well as 4 Echoes of an Offering. So we'll start the video simple, we'll talk about important notes, we'll look at the artifact comparison for each weapon, because whoever does a artifact comparison for you without considering the different type of buffs in the comp, as well as the different type of weapon, the bonuses from the weapon. If anyone does a artifact comparison for you without factoring those in, they are not giving you the full picture, and in some cases not even the correct picture. Okay, so bear that in mind. Because I have actually received comments before saying that I wasn't doing artifact comparison, I was doing weapon comparison. I was like, what? Okay, anyway, that's that. Now, let's look at the important notes. First off, only C0 and C6 figures will be looked at here. Why? Because we've already established that most of his constellations are bad. Only C6 in OverVape HyperCarry is in the typical C0 C6 level of boost. All other scenarios is very bad. Even HyperCarry with Yun in C6 is very bad. It's 60+%. Typically, you want it to be around 80%. The comparisons will also be categorized by weapons because weapon affects the artifact comparison. Okay, a high damage bonus from Haran or Mistsplitter will make a difference. Artifact comparison results between Torgana and Kamisato are extremely similar, so I will only talk about FreezeComp here. So when I say FreezeComp, it applies to both Torgana and Kamisato, at least in terms of artifact comparison results. Alright, now that's the important notes. Today's video will be quite fast because my analyst points are not a lot. Because some of the weapons are kinda very similar. There's a reason why I put Black Sword before PJC, right? Now, let's look at OverVape HyperCarry. Like I said, only C0 and C6. In OverVape HyperCarry, with the high damage bonus from Haran, Haran gives you 52% and 104% on his E, 12 and 24 on his Q. So 4Glads actually performs better than 4 HOD. But it's only by a very small margin. It's 0.6 to 1.1%. Okay, these two percentages. So it's so small that it doesn't really matter per se. But if you want to know which is better, then yes, 4Glads is slightly better. Very slightly better. Now, 4Echoes still performs better than 4Glads, except C6R1 for trigger. And that's because triggers are flat damage bonuses, they don't skew with Ayato's C6. Because Ayato's C6 effect is not like Ito's giving you crit damage or Yaemiko giving defense reduction. It simply gives 2 additional attacks with 450% attack each, which then makes it such that the trigger's flat damage bonus has a huge diminishing return in comparison. Okay, so that's for OverVape HyperCarry. Now let's talk about FreezeComp in the with Haran. So FreezeComp with Haran, these are the figures. You see more red figures, which means that there are more scenarios where the 4Glads is better. In FreezeComp, with the high damage bonus from Haran, 4Glads performs better than 4 HOD and the margin is 0.9 to 1.9%. Still pretty small in my opinion. Anything lower than 2% or up to 2+% is still small. 4Echoes still performs better than 4Glads at C0, but 4Glads is better at C6. So this is C0, then we have C6 here. Huge difference, right? So many red figures in C6. And the reason is the same. You have much. Now the reason why is you have much lesser buffs in Torgana compared to OverVape HyperCarry. Because OverVape HyperCarry, you have Banner's buff, you have Kazuha's buff along with Freedom Zone's buff, etc. So the triggers lose out on all those buffs, but the C6 high attack multiplier still gain full bonus from 4 Gladiators. That is the main reason why 4Glads becomes better than 4Echoes at C6 for a FreezeComp. Okay, for a FreezeComp with Haran. So honestly, I think this is a really bad design for Ayato in a FreezeComp, where his supposed new signature artifact actually performs worse at C6 versus 4Glads. I mean, as if his constellations weren't bad enough, right? But I guess to begin with, you shouldn't go C6 Ayato in freeze comp. Because C0 to C6, you only get 57 to 58%, which is absolutely horrible. So yeah, maybe we shouldn't even look at C6 here. We should just look at C0. Okay, so anyway, that's for Haran. Now let's look at it for Mistsplitter. Mistsplitter also has high damage bonus just like Haran, so the artifact comparison results are pretty much the same as Haran. So I'm not going to go through in detail. If you want to know the details, go back to the previous Haran section. Okay. Similarly, for the freeze comp, the artifact comparison results are also the same as Haran. Now let's move on to Black Sword. So Black Sword also has damage bonus, but it's about slightly less than half of that of Haran, 20 and 40, and R1 and R5. So basically the gap between 4HOD and 4Glads is smaller, right? Because the damage bonus is lower. So the gap is smaller and it's up to a margin of 0.3%. Extremely small. You can might as well just say that they are similar. So the margin of 4Echoes versus 4Glads is also reduced since lesser damage bonus for 4Echoes flat damage triggers as well. Okay? I mean 4Echoes is still better. No doubt about that. It's just that the percentages some of it goes lower. Not by a very significant amount per se. So 6.45 and 6.8%. Not much of a diff really. But at least you know what the difference in the damage bonus does to the artifact comparison. Obviously it has a much bigger impact on your actual DPS, but in terms of artifact comparison, the impact is it does reduce the gap. Okay. Now freeze comp with Black Sword. The same applies for freeze comp as well. Okay, the same thing that is in OverVape HyperCarry applies in freeze comp, or rather I should say the same thing applies for what you see in Haran as well as Black Sword, where C6 is worse off than 4Glads, everything is worse off than 4Glads. C0, 4Echoes can still be better if you at least get 6 triggers. It's pretty much the same result as the previous two, the Mistsplitter and the Haran in freeze comp. Now let's look at PJC, because PJC is different, right? PJC doesn't have any damage bonuses. So with 0% damage bonus from PJC, 4HOD actually now performs better than 4Glads, but it's also by a small margin, 0.5 to 1.2%. So just like previous comparisons with lesser damage bonus, 4Echoes triggers lose out in comparison at C6. I mean, it's still slightly better here, but not by much. So always remember this. The more damage bonus you have, the better 4Glads performs. But at the same time, it also improves the 4Echoes. And with the less damage bonus you have, the more 4Echoes loses out to 4Glads. I know, the relationship is a bit of a triangle, but yeah. Now let's look at freeze comp for PJC. So with 0% damage bonus from PJC, 4HOD also performs better than 4Glads, just like in the OverVape HyperCarry with PJC, but it's also by a small margin. It's 0.6 to 2%, so again it's up to at most 2%. And with 0% damage bonus from PJC, 4Echoes is only better at C08T here. So which basically makes 4HOD the best choice amongst the three artifacts for freeze comp when using PJC. I don't even need to consider 4-piece Blizzard Strayer because it's overkill when you're using PJC. Okay? I know that people are asking me about how about using Blizzard Strayer in freeze comp. I personally don't really like it. I mean, the only advantage of using a 4-piece Blizzard Strayer on Ayato in a freeze comp is just so that your artifact farming life is easier. It doesn't make your potential or your damage higher. Okay, let's put it that way. It makes your artifact farming life easier. Gotta remember that you're getting 0 benefit from the 2-piece bonus when you do that for Ayato. Okay, now that is for PJC. Let's talk about Amenoma. So for Amenoma, honestly, it's the same result as PJC. artifact comparison wise, all this other than the percentages, but it's the same conclusion. Like it's still by a small margin. 4Echoes still loses out in comparison at C6, stuff like that. Likewise, for FreezeCom for Amenoma, it's the same. Similar result to PJC artifact comparison wise. So refer wherever I say similar result to a certain weapon, just refer to that specific weapon section. I don't want to waste too much time talking about the same, more or less the same result, with some slight difference in numbers. Sorry. So TLDR, very nice and simple, very straightforward today, because the artifact comparison is really pretty straightforward here. 4 Gladiators versus 4 HOD. For Haran, Mistsplitter and Black Sword. Okay, sorry for this skip in music, I had a bad cough. Alright, so the thing about for the TLDR, I'm going to look at it a slightly different perspective. It's 4Glads versus 4 HOD and 4Glads versus 4 Echoes. So for 4Glads versus 4 HOD, for Haran, Mistsplitter and Black Sword, i.e. weapons with damage percentage bonuses, which means that this will include Scarlet Blade as well, 4Glads is slightly better than 4 HOD, but it's only a very small margin, it's up to 2%. For PJC and Amenoma, i.e. weapons without damage percentage bonuses, 4 HOD is slightly better than 4Glads. The reason is to do with diminishing returns. Okay. So it's also up to 2%. So it's when you don't have damage percentage bonuses, 4 HOD is better. When you have damage percentage bonuses, 4Glads is better. But both of it, the margin is only up to 2%, which means because the margin is so small, just use the artifact set with a better substats. It's as simple as that. If you have a 4Glads that's better than your 4 HOD, use the 4Glads. If you have a 4 HOD that's better than your 4Glads, use the 4 HOD. Super straightforward stuff. But if they are around the same, then refer to comparison above on which is better. Okay? Now, the more interesting result would be, or comparison would be the 4Glads versus 4 Echoes. In OverVape HyperCarry, 4 Echoes is definitely better, especially before C6. It's up to 11% better. So definitely it's worthwhile farming for it if you are going to main Ayato. But the problem with the 4 Echoes artifact set is that the other artifact is 4-piece Vermilion, and Vermilion right now is pretty niche. Really only good for sale right now. Maybe Yalan will have the 4 Vermilion as her BIS, and if that's the case, then there's more reason to farm for the artifact to me. But bear in mind that at C6, 4 Echoes is still better, except one scenario. Except when you have 4 triggers, i.e. when you're unlucky and you only do 4 triggers with your 4 Echoes. Which means that this result is pretty much similar to 4 HOD versus 4 Echoes, really. It's about the same thing. Which is not surprising because 4 Gladiators versus 4 HOD, in the first place, the difference between them, the margin is so small. Okay? Now, in FreezeCom, for weapons without damage percentage bonuses, 4 Echoes is mostly worse than 4 Glads. In FreezeCom, for weapons with damage percentage bonuses, I already covered those weapons here, 4 Echoes is only worse than 4 Glads at C6. It's still better at C0. So it really depends on what weapon you're using. If you're using a Mistsplitter, 4 Echoes will be better at C0, but worse than 4 Glads at C6. If you're using a weapon like, say, PJC, there's no damage percentage bonuses on it, 4 Echoes is mostly worse than 4 Glads. I hope that's clear. Now, but in the first place, to begin with, I wouldn't recommend getting C6 Ayato in FreezeCom, because 57 to 58% from C0 to C6 is absolutely horrible. So in other words, if you're using Ayato in FreezeCom, you should use it at C0, and if you're using a weapon with damage percentage bonuses, Haran, Mistsplitter, the Black Sword, 4 Echoes is better. If you're using a weapon without damage percentage bonuses like PJC, Amenoma, then 4 Echoes is better. 4 Glads is better. So it's a bit reverse depending on what weapon that you're using, which is the same result as the 4 Glads versus 4 HOD. Okay, so straightforward stuff really. So I hope this is clear to you guys. OverVape HyperCarry, 4 Echoes is better. FreezeCom, you should not be even doing C6 Ayato in FreezeCom really. If you're going to spend that money to get Ayato to C6, you should use OverVape HyperCarry. And based on that understanding, Weapons without damage percentage bonuses, 4Glads is better. Weapon with damage percentage bonuses, 4Echoes is better. Straightforward. What's coming next in the Ayato video series? Actually, all math guides are done. All 30 math guides are done. Wow, 30 math guides. And we're gonna go for gameplay videos next. Tomorrow, at least at this point of recording, tomorrow we will be able to get Ayato. And I'll definitely do gameplay videos on him, testing him out, etc. But I will only be pulling for C0 for now, until we have done the Yelan math guides and we see whether there's any overlap in their roles, and whether it's more worthwhile to go for Yelan instead of Ayato, investments wise, be it C0 or further constellations. Okay, if you like the content, remember the video and click subscribe for more. Thanks everyone for watching. Bye.